Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and to a new video. And I was informed recently that this week is National Neurodiversity Celebration Week, which I think is absolutely awesome. So if you know anyone in your life that is neurodivergent or has some sort of disability, then don't forget to tell them that you love them and that you're proud of them, and celebrate them because they are awesome. So today's video is going to be the second video in my new series of autistic traits. The first one I did was all about autism and masking, so if you want to see that, I'll put the link in the description of this video down below. And so, I'm sure you're all wondering what I'm going to be talking about in today's video. By the way, do you like my little background I tried to make? You can't really see it because I'm sort of in the way, but I think it's so cool. And I'm also very confused as to why it's not straight, because my camera is flat, but it feels like it should go slightly like that. But I don't think that's made any difference. Anyway, today I'm going to be talking about sensory difficulties in autistic people. And speaking of which, all the cars keep beeping outside and it's really getting on my nerves. But anyway, before I get into this video, two things. First of all, of course, don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to receive notifications every time I upload a new video. And I also want to give a shout out to Rick Cleary, Wolfie Rose and Thinks Jim for guessing my songs on my YouTube live. So if you weren't aware, last week I did my first YouTube live. It sort of was an accident. I went live because I needed to do my piano practice and I was bored. And then I just thought, well, I'll go live. It'll be like cool to watch it back, I guess. Really not expecting anyone to join. I then got raided by Mr. Porkchop, and about 20 people were watching me play all these pieces, and then I did like a whole bunch of original songs. It was really fun. And I said, first one to guess the piece I'm playing gets a shout out in my next video. So if you want a chance to have a shout out in my video, make sure to join in any lives that I do or any competitions I might do on my YouTube or my Instagram, so follow me on Instagram, also in the description of this video. So anyway, let's get on to the video. First things first, what exactly are sensory difficulties? So a lot of people with autism will struggle with sensory difficulties. Now, not everyone struggles with sensory things. Some people struggle with some and not with others, and other people might struggle more with other ones to other people. Every person is different, and that's no different just because you have autism. No person with autism is the same as another person with autism, and so someone might struggle with some things that others don't, and vice versa. So I just want to state that before going into this video. People that struggle with sensory difficulties might struggle with it in two ways. They might either have heightened sensory difficulties or undersensitive sensory difficulties. Cool, that is a tongue twister. Undersensitive sensory difficulties. Some things that people on the spectrum might struggle with sensory wise could be loud noises, strong smells, different textures in foods, or perhaps clothing textures, flashing lights, and many other things. I want to talk about a few things that I personally struggle with sensory wise, and let me know in the comments down below if you can relate to this, or if you're not autistic, let me know down below anything new that you learnt from this video today that you necessarily didn't know beforehand. So some things, I'm just going to list a few things that I struggle with sensory wise that I've written down, and I'm going to sort of go into a few of these in more detail. So the seams of tights, sun cream, the feel of sun cream on my skin, the feel of sand on my skin, There's a picture of me growing up, I'll see if I can find it and put it here, of me being on a beach and my parents lifting me up and me screaming because I didn't like the feel of the sand on me. The feel of velvet, which is a very random one, the taste and texture of toothpaste, and the feel of the brush against my teeth. Paper and wood and straw utensils. Ugh. I know it's supposed to be good for the environment, but I don't like the feel of it in my mouth. It's gross. The smell of perfumes, candles, flowers, lavender especially, lemon cleaning products. A lot of these strong smelling things, especially ones people deem as nice. A new / clean car smell. Flickering or fast moving lights. The texture, taste and smell of certain foods. And lastly, baths and showers. I'm going to elaborate on just a few specific ones. And again, things that I struggle with, not every autistic person will struggle with. And there might be things that I don't struggle with that people do struggle with. So bear that in mind. But the first one I want to talk about is public transport. Now, I don't drive, so I use a lot of public transport. The one time I don't like travelling on public transport and try and avoid if I can is during school hours. Now, I just want to say that this is not a representation of every single school kid, but a lot of the time this is what I am having to face. So you'll often see me on public transport, especially during school hours, either wearing my ear defenders or my headphones, which I have here actually. These are Sony ones and they are so good, they've got noise cancelling on them. Listening to my music, trying to basically just drown out everything else around me. There's a lot of sensory difficulties I find, especially on buses during school hours, because you've got not only the rattling of the bus itself, you've got the noise that the door makes when it opens and closes, you've got the sensation of the bus going up and down over the bumps, all the school kids shouting and talking to each other across the bus and pushing each other around and just messing around basically. You've got the noise of the bells going off and the announcements, and it can sometimes get quite stuffy on a bus. So a lot of these things sort of all build up and get a bit much sometimes. Some people probably are able to zone this out and sort of still just focus on themselves and their journey and what they're doing, whereas for me this is something that I can't unfocus from, and I sort of get fixated on all of this because I can't zone it out, and that gets overwhelming for me. And I find wearing my ear defenders can help, you know, it sort of muffles the sound, so it's not as loud, although I'm sort of aware that things are still going on. It's sort of but I don't like wearing them for long periods of time because they're heavy on my head and it hurts, like it pushes in, which obviously is not ideal, and in a way I feel forced to wear them because it's that discomfort or this discomfort, if that makes sense. And I guess I know which one I'd rather prefer, although I'd rather neither. But that's why I like wearing my headphones, listening to music. More often I'll be wearing these. I find listening to music really comforting. I've always loved music my whole life. As you know, I do a lot of music on my channel. I write my own songs, I record, play live, all those things. I love to sing. So listening to music can be really comforting and soothing for me, especially when I'm anxious or overwhelmed. Well, one thing I've sort of come to realise about listening to music is that it's the predictability of the music. So I tend to listen to the same playlist over and over again, which has like a bunch of my favourite songs, and I'm continually adding to it. But they're like specific versions of the songs that I like, and I know what comes in each video every time, and it's again having the routine of each song and knowing what's coming and the predictability makes me feel a bit more safe and relaxed compared to the outside world that maybe is very unpredictable and you don't know what's going to happen and you can't control it, whereas the music you can control. It also is a great distraction and it helps me to focus on something I really enjoy rather than the overstimulating surroundings and something I don't necessarily enjoy. So one form of autistic stimming, which if you don't know what that is, I'm going to go into a whole other video for stimming, but one form of stimming is listening to a song on repeat, and I am very well known for doing this. I will find a song that I really like and I will listen to it on repeat constantly for at least a week, and I'm not joking, like I won't listen to any other songs, it will be literally that one song because I'll become obsessed with it and I'll really like it, whether it's the word, the melody, the music, the instruments that are used. I will get obsessed and I'll listen to that song, and that's also something that really helps me when I'm being overstimulated or I'm experiencing a lot of sensory discomfort. Then listening to that can help calm me and regulate my emotions and focus on something a bit more positive. And that definitely helps when you're on a bus full of school kids. I also quite often find other loud noises really difficult, such as fireworks, going to the theatre, lots of conversations going on at once I can find quite difficult. And I often, especially with fireworks, I refer to it as, it feels like what I would imagine being shot feels like, and that is an understatement. I was at a wedding last year. I actually was paid to play at a wedding, my first wedding, and it was the best experience, and they said they were going to have a fireworks display in the evening and I forgot my ear defenders, and so of course I start panicking about it, and I've never coped well with fireworks my whole life. And someone thankfully had a pair of ear defenders that I could borrow. I was like, oh great. So I thought I can stand with everyone else because I love the look of fireworks. I think they're so pretty. It's just the noise I can't handle. And so I thought, great, now I can stand with everyone else and enjoy the fireworks. And so I did, although like to the back of the crowd, and they went off, and as soon as they went off, I could not handle it. So I started walking further and further back until I was about like all the way at the other end of the field in the car park, and I was standing there going like this because even the ear defenders weren't muffling the sound enough, and I pretty much had almost a panic attack and a sensory overload, and I just had a bit of a meltdown because it was really hurting me and I couldn't handle the noise, and I was also very upset because it meant I couldn't join in with everyone else and watch the fireworks like I wanted to, which was very sad. So things like that, my ear defenders come in real handy. However, it's also really difficult because there's so many things that people could do to help with the sensory difficulties for people, and yet they don't really seem to, which I get could be because they just don't understand what things we need accommodating for, which is why I want to make these videos. So I hope something helpful comes out of this video, for at least one person anyway. So another thing I want to talk about is my limited diet due to sensory food aversions and difficulties. A lot of people might struggle with eating certain foods due to the taste of the food, the texture, the smell, the look of it, anything really. This can be really difficult because I don't eat any fruit. And I eat a very few limited amount of vegetables, which I know you're dying to know what they are, so I'll tell you. It's carrots, parsnips, onions, which ironically growing up I could not stand onions and now I love them, sweet corn, and that's basically it. But I think the thing with fruit is it's never the same when you eat another one. So one time you eat a banana, it might be really nice and ripe, and the other time you might eat it and it's really mushy. And again, it's that thing of not being predictable and not knowing what it's going to be like. Whereas if you have chicken nuggets and chips from a freezer, you know that it's always going to be exactly the same, and that's quite reassuring for me. I also have this really weird thing where I can just look at a food and I can sort of feel what it tastes like in my mouth, even though I'm not eating it. And I know that sounds weird and you're probably going, nah, you're just making it up. But I can. Even with foods that I've never eaten before, like someone will say, do you want to try this? And I'll look at it and I sort of can really feel what it would taste like to eat that food. And so I know that I will like it or not. And so a lot of the time I'll go, oh, I don't like that. And they say, oh, have you tried it? And I say, no, but I just know that I don't like it. So that is something, yeah, that I have, which is really weird. And I've only sort of really come to recognize that recently. And even like with foods I've had in the past, like now I'm thinking of Nutella and I can sort of imagine, oh yeah, I know what that tastes like in my mouth. And like the texture and the taste of it. And I also really struggle with changing foods and packaging of foods. So when I was a lot younger growing up, I used to love the Robinson's fruit shoots, apple and blackcurrant. I've actually got one here. That's so funny because I've just drunk one. I used to love those growing up and they were the best. And although I did sort of used to drink some squash, I've gone off it now. I, for a fact, only drink milk, water and hot chocolate, and currently these drinks. But to the story, I used to love those growing up, and then one day they just changed the lids from blue to green, and I was very suspicious of this. So I thought, well, I'll try it anyway, I'm sure it will be fine. And they changed the recipe completely, and I'd just completely gone off it, and I was so upset because at that point it was the only fruity thing I was drinking / eating really. And I was really sad. And so for about 10 years I never had another one of these drinks. And then I tried one recently because I was like, well, I'll just try it, you never know. And it wasn't actually that bad. So I've kind of got back into them, but there's been a couple times where I tried to get back into them and didn't like them. And yeah, so at the moment I'm really into those drinks. But even like one of my favourite crisps, Quavers, recently changed their packaging. And again, I was like, great, this obviously means they've changed their recipe. And everyone I spoke to said, no, they taste exactly the same. But I could tell the difference and I didn't like them and it was really sad. So I don't eat those anymore. And it's really hard because then obviously that really limits what I do eat, because more and more things change. And although you might say yes, things change for the better, and obviously I used to hate onions and now I like onions, for the most part things change, I go off them, and then there's not really much I do eat. However, there have been a lot of things as I've gotten older that I have tried and have liked. So I'm trying to constantly expand my diet, but it's not very easy having autism and these sensory difficulties. I would often really struggle as well going to people's houses and knowing we were going to be eating food, just because I got very anxious about wondering what food they were going to have. Am I going to like it? How do I get away with not eating it if I don't like it? I don't want to seem rude, but at the same time, like, oh, I don't like this food, but I can't say anything. All these things would sort of be circling around my head. And I remember this actually from a very young age. When I was about 10 or 11, I remember being invited to a friend's house from primary school, and we were going to have dinner, and I cancelled, and I made an excuse for some reason. I can't remember what the excuse was, but I just said, oh sorry, I can't come now, because I was really worrying about what they were going to make for dinner and I would have to eat it. Which sounds a bit ridiculous now. You could just say to them, oh, I'm really anxious about eating new foods, would you be able to tell me in advance what you're going to make? And I'm sure they would be really fine about it. But at the time, obviously I was quite young and I was undiagnosed autistic, so I didn't really know how to express that for myself, or advocate that for myself. So another thing I want to talk about is something that I really struggle with, which is really strong smells. So I want to say that there's actually one thing that I do like the smell of, which is foods that I like. So for example, going to my friend Lynn's house and walking in and instantly smelling fish pie, I'll go, oh yes, because I know we're having fish pie for dinner and it smells so good. Or the smell of really nice chocolate, or the smell of garlic bread or bread sauce. All of these things smell so good, but the majority of smells, I guess I just have really strong sensitive smell nose, I don't know, a strong smelling nose I get. I'm just very sensitive to strong smells, and I guess actually they're not even strong, I just smell them strongly. But a few things, like I said earlier, that I really struggle with is perfumes, which can be really difficult because I know a lot of people love to wear perfumes, and I don't want to be rude and go like that the whole time, so I don't, and of course that's a form of masking, and it's exhausting, and enduring the smell that I really can't stand is exhausting. And the thing about smells is people experience sensory difficulties in different ways. So for some people it just really tires them out. For some people it can physically hurt them and distress them. Some people, they just go into a shutdown or a meltdown. Some people it might make them feel really nauseous or sick. And particularly for me, with strong smells, I find that they just make me feel really, really sick, and that's an unpleasant feeling, of course. And with perfumes, I can't say to someone, oh sorry, I really can't stand the smell of your perfume, it's gross and it's making me feel sick, because of course that comes across as rude. But at the same time, I'm standing there having to endure this thing, which, it's nothing against the person themselves. It's, I'm sure, a really nice perfume. It's just that I can't stand strong smells, and to me a perfume is a strong smell. It's the same with candles. I cannot stand walking past shops such as like Lush or like beauty shops or bath shops, because all I can smell is the candles, the bath bombs, the smell of all the products, and it gets really a lot for me, and I can't handle that because it makes me feel really sick. And so I try and avoid going into them, or I'll just walk past like that, or I'll just try and walk a different way, because I don't want to go through that unpleasant sensation. Another one as well is like things when people say, oh, smell this nice flower, or oh yeah, I gave you, like, you know, those microwavable things that you put in the microwave and then they smell nice but they heat up at the same time, and it's like, I can't stand that smell because it's lavender, and everyone thinks lavender smells so nice, but because it's so strong, I really can't get on with it. And so when people say to me, oh, smell this nice flower, I'm like, oh, I'm sure it does smell nice, but I don't really like strong smells, and I don't like smelling flowers, so I'm not going to smell it, but thanks though. And it can be really frustrating because obviously it limits things you can use, things you can do, and it kind of sucks. So that's another thing I really struggle with sensory wise. But yeah, I hope that kind of gave a bit of insight into things that someone on the autistic spectrum might struggle with. Like I said, not everyone will relate to things I've said. I won't relate to everything other people say, because we all struggle with things differently and in different ways, and please be respectful of that. However, if you did relate to anything I said today, let me know in the comments down below. And like I said earlier, let me know if you learned anything new from this video today, and also let me know, a lot of letting me know, if there are any specific topics you'd like to see me talk about on my channel, because I'm so excited to be talking more about this. So something I want to say before I end this video is I just have a few things that people could take into consideration when trying to accommodate for someone with sensory difficulties that is on the spectrum. Just a few ideas in case you come out of this video thinking, how can I better help people on the spectrum to feel more comfortable and more safe in my environment? Number 1, using silent fireworks. I only found out about these recently, but apparently they're a thing where they go off but they don't make any noise. Because, let's be honest, no one uses fireworks for the noise. They use them for the look of them. So I'm sure some people wouldn't mind having silent ones so that people like me can still enjoy them. Number 2, setting up sensory areas in your environment. So some things that people on the spectrum find really comforting is soft lights and bubble columns and comfy bean bags and quiet places. And so even just finding a spare room, or even just cutting off a corner of your room and using it as a sensory space for autistic people could be really helpful. A place for them to just retreat to when they're getting a bit overwhelmed and regain some energy back. Number 3, just being sensitive when you're aware you're around someone with autism, of not talking really loudly or shouting. Now, I know you might say that you're not always aware that people have autism around you, but a lot of people wear like their sunflower lanyards, or you'll know them personally, so you'll know that they have autism and they struggle with loud noises. So just being more sensitive to that could be really good. Also, having headphones and ear defenders at your place of work so that if people come, you can offer them to them if they want it. Things like not having music so loud in a restaurant. I know that supermarkets have been having quieter times specifically for people on the spectrum where there's no music, the lights are a bit less bright. The only problem I find with that is that they're always at awkward times, and I don't necessarily want to do my weekly shop on a Wednesday morning at 7 o'clock in the morning. But sort of a step in the right direction. You could also offer comfortable slippers for people to borrow, or say it's okay if you want to be barefoot in this room. That can be really helpful for people. And also allowing them to have fidget toys and wearing comfortable clothes that they're comfortable in, just to make things a little bit easier. So those are a few things that maybe you could think about. Oh, also not having flashing lights, like fairy lights or things, not having flashing lights, that would be really good as well. But some things you could think about when taking into consideration an autistic person. So thanks for watching this video if you made it this far. Don't forget to like this video, share it with everyone, especially on Neurodivergent Celebration Week. I think I've said that the right way around. And hit the bell to receive notifications every time I upload a new video. And subscribe, I didn't say that bit. So yeah, there we go. Autism and sensory difficulties, autistic trait number 2. And I'll see you on the next video.